Open Your Eyes is brought to you by SMART, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right.
I'm Sabrina Daly.
And I'm Paul Lopez.
And welcome to a beautiful Thursday morning.
Friday Junior.
Friday Junior, as we call it. It is a lovely Thursday morning here at Old Belize. And the weather's nice, Paul.
It is. I see some overcast in Belize City. And it came as an interesting sight to me because, one, I haven't seen this much overcast for some time, but two, I know that we're not forecasting any rain for Belize City anytime soon, at least not until maybe Sunday.
Yeah.
So I believe it's still going to be a hot day, and this is me speaking to those who haven't gone outside as yet. You're still getting up, stretching, just to take off your pajama or your frock or whatever, that it still is expected to be a hot day, but it's a welcome sight to see a bit of overcast with all that's happening in the Caribbean right now.
It does cool down the temperatures a bit. You would know, Paul, that we are just a day away or a couple days away from the start of June, which is, of course, our hurricane season. And this time around, I think we're all hoping that the time comes so quickly because we do want some showers. Of course, we do not want the hurricanes,
it's like,
but we need the rain.
Right, so it's one of those situations where we've gotten so much heat that we're looking forward to some showers of blessings from above, but at the same time, it's dawning on you that hurricane
could be from one extreme to the next
as well. It's like, you know, the barrel they come from states, but also that family member where you know want to see they bring it. So they're like, yeah, we want a barrel, but I really don't want to see that family member. So it's something like that that can be expected because we know that it's set to be a above average hurricane season. But Sabrina, we have a conversation in this morning's show that will touch on the hurricane season and what Belize City residents can expect. So we'll reserve most of our comments on the hurricane season for that segment, and that's one of the segments you certainly don't want to miss, especially if you're in Belize City and you're wondering, what should I do to prepare if I should be preparing already, and what are the responses in place from officials?
Absolutely. So, as you know, Paul, we do have a couple topics that we want to jump into this morning for What's Buzzing. And I believe we mentioned it yesterday that you would have gone out on the field to get a further update on the situation as it pertains to carrots. Carrots wasting, carrots spoiling, farmers saying that their carrots aren't selling.
Yeah.
Now, we did have individuals on the show talking about what the Ministry of Agriculture, Food Security and Enterprise is doing. No. That was with you. I think you were here.
That wasn't.
Yes. And of course, we did hear from the leader of the opposition on his take. Of course, saying that it's actually a situation that is dire. So the folks from the Ministry of Agriculture said it's actually not the case. We are not importing carrots. This is a situation because of farmers not being able to plant in their regular schedule.
Situation.
Yes. So what were you able to gather on the scene when you went to visit in Corozal and Orange Walk? Yes?
Yeah. So Sabrina, for a village guy like me converted into a city guy, I see carrots when I go to the market to purchase it, or when it's on my table with a fresh chop of cabbage and some mayo and some salt and sugar for my coleslaw, right?
Yeah.
That's when I see carrots. But here in Orange Walk and the Corozal district and the Cayo district, these farmers, basically see carrots every day because they produce it. They produce and harvest carrots. The situation they're having right now is that, and this lot you're watching there is land being prepared to plant carrots, and to the right of that shot, we actually saw some carrots in the ground. So this is carrots in the ground. The situation they're having is that they're unable to sell their carrots. So they haven't been able to harvest their carrots because they're unable to sell it. And these are mature carrots. The carrots have reached maturity, and the longer they stay in the ground, the more mature they get. And at some point, they begin to go bad. So either they rot or they break, they spoil. And so the question is, why is it that these carrot farmers are facing this situation? Well, the Ministry of Agriculture says that there's a schedule for planting during the season. Let's say, for example, at the end of the year, the residents in the Cayo district, farmers in the Cayo district will plant October, and then Corozal and Orange Walk will plant November. The carrot is a 3-month crop, so October the Cayo district plants, November, December, January, February, April, they're able to harvest. And when they harvest, they sell. Immediately you harvest, you wash, you sell. And then because the Corozal and Orange Walk districts plants in November, December, January, February, March, so end of April, May, they would be harvesting and selling. By the time Corozal and Orange Walk are harvesting, the Cayo producers, they would have already harvested and sold their product. So because of rains and droughts last year, the Cayo, let's just say the schedule went off track. They weren't able to plant like one before the other and so forth. They all planted at the same time. So what happened is, and this is according to the ministry, they're all harvesting at the same time now. So you have this oversaturation of carrots, because whereas in the past, you know, as I explained before, once you done harvest, you sell, and then we want just to get ready for harvest and sell. Now, all of them ready at the same time, and the market really, based on our consumption and our demand, we can't absorb all of this carrots. And so that's the situation which, according to the ministry, stems from, well, climate change, because it's a climate issue that led to this. No, the carrot farmers, they are not wholly buying that story.
Really?
They are completely doubtful. And I found it interesting yesterday, because it's one thing to hear that these people are doubtful and that they actually believe that the ministry is lying, but it's another thing to hear it from them. So we interviewed one farmer and we asked him, have you heard that there's carrots in Cayo, the Cayo district, and that may be why you guys aren't able to sell your carrots, because you have to wait until the carrots are finished. And the one farmer told me, yes, I've heard, but I'm doubtful that there's actually carrots in Cayo. He is suggesting that this situation stems from contraband, from the illegal importation of carrots.
And I believe that was also something that was mentioned by the leader of the opposition, correct?
So that's what the leader of opposition's position is as well, in a sense, that carrots are being brought in illegally into the country, Mexican carrots that is, and that is what is oversaturating the market, causing this glut of carrots in the country. So that's one farmer. We visited 4 farms yesterday in total. We went to a second group of farmers that were cleaning their carrots and preparing it, bagging it off, preparing it to go to market. And initially they became very hostile, because understand that we were with a group from the Ministry of Agriculture. We were also with a group from the Belize Marketing and Development Corporation, and several key government players in this industry. And as they saw us, they were like, oh, don't bring the cameras here. take the cameras to the border. That's where the contrabandists are. That's where the illegal carrots are.
So
take it over there.
I could see why the
them.
leader of the opposition would have this position then if he's hearing that from certain farmers too.
Right, no, he's hearing that from a lot of farmers. Because then the third farmer we spoke with, so those two are in Orange Walk, in the deep rural Orange Walk. We traveled yesterday. Then we traveled deep into the Corozal rural area in Pachacan, where we spoke to one farmer who said the same thing. So it's not to be mistaken that this is the view of only one or two farmers. All these farmers believe. This one went as far as saying, this third farmer is saying that I have evidence. I have proof that carrots are being brought in to the country from Mexico illegally. His assertion, however, is a bit more out there, because he's saying that he believes it's coming in through the legal border point, that these carrots are being imported through the legal border point. Now, the body that has the authority to do that through a permit, once issued by the Ministry of Agriculture, is the Belize Marketing and Development Corporation. And they are saying, nah, we don't have permits to bring in carrots right now. The last time we brought in carrots was in November. And like I told you, that's when they usually plant. So if you're planting, there's no carrots on the market. So the BMDC would then fill that gap with imported carrots. They're saying the last time we imported was in November. So I don't know that yesterday's trip gave us an answer.
Or gave the farmers reassurance.
Or gave the farmers reassurance. So, because there's two sides to it, so we don't have a clear picture as to why the saturation is there, only because you have the farmers saying one thing based on their view and experience on the ground, and the Ministry of Agriculture, who I must say have been on the ground. And I have to give the Ministry of Agriculture credit, because they took us to farmers that are not happy with them. They took us into environments that are hostile for them. And they got a lot of tongue lashing, but they wanted for us to see the reality on the ground without hiding anything or pulling any punches. Just to say that today, they're taking another trip, this time to Cayo.
Okay.
Because it's one thing to tell the farmers that there's still carrots in Cayo, but
and it's another to
it's
show
another
them.
to show them and to see it for yourself. So today there's a media trip to Cayo where reporters will go up and look at the carrot situation in the Cayo district.
All right. Well, that's actually what was going to be my final question. What happens next? Because we were able to capture a little bit of the situation over in the north side of the country, where they were saying that the carrots are rotting. And of course, they're saying that it's because of this reason, which the Ministry of Agriculture is saying not so. So it'll be interesting to see what we do capture when we head west and find out if there is indeed a larger supply of carrots than necessary in the western part of the country.
And this is people's livelihoods we're talking about. When we talk about fires burning and destroying people's homes and farms, it's similar. If you can't sell your carrots, you lose your investments. That's basically the essence.
I believe you interviewed a farmer that mentioned since it was time to harvest, he's only sold 8 sacks of carrots.
And usually at this time, he would have already sold 80 to 100.
Wow.
That's what that load plot there that we saw for him, that's what he could probably produce from that. So 8 out of 100.
Wow.
It really shows the situation.
Yes, yes. All right. Well, we will be following that as we get updates. Of course, we will be providing it to you as well. But speaking of updates, Paul, and this is something that we've been extensively providing coverage of, and that is the impact of forest fires across the country, particularly in the Toledo district, and now the conversation has spread to the western part of the country. We spoke about how these forest fires are impacting the mountain pine ridge, but now we are talking about how forest fires may potentially impact our electricity through our dam. Now, this is something that we also had a reporter out on the field yesterday getting a coverage of what is taking place as it relates to the Chaleo Dam, which has since been significantly decreased because of the heat waves, because of not getting rain, water, obviously. I'm not sure how much the Chaleo Dam provides electricity-wise to the grid, but I know that we do rely on the Chaleo Dam for sources of energy. You would know, Paul, that we also import electricity from outside of the country. So having a situation as it is currently, where we are experiencing load shedding because of our neighbor and the country that we are purchasing electricity from having to conserve their own electricity, and then having our second source of electricity being potentially impacted because of the heat, this is something that we seriously need to be concerned about.
I know you'll tell us a bit more about some of the threats posed to the dam even if rain comes.
Yes.
But Sabrina, you're right to say that we've been experiencing load shedding not only weeks ago, but it seems as it has restarted the load shedding without any sort of major announcement, any sort of press conference this time. Perhaps it's that we've already gotten used to the load shedding, but Tuesday and Wednesday there have been load shedding, and I see the schedule online and I hear the complaints of my folks in Belmopan, if nowhere else. And then when we come and we convene for morning shows, I hear various complaints or accounts from us here, our staff here, who have also been experiencing this load shedding.
Yeah, so one of the points that obviously we are concerned about is that if this dam does not fill up with water, we're looking at a possibility of being in a electricity or an energy crisis even further. The second concern is the issue of ash and soot because of the fire, and how that contributes to I'm guessing polluting the water and the pipe system. I'm not sure how that translates to providing energy, but that is also something that they're concerned about. Now, we did speak to the managing organization that deals with the Chaleo Dam. I believe that is Fortis Belize, and they were assuring us that they are trying to ensure that they are able to do everything they possibly can to not have this situation escalate any further into a crisis. But I think what we're all waiting for at this point, Paul, is for rain. We just need rain. Rain will solve the issue of the waters going low. It will solve the issue of the forest fires, stopping these fires, and of course, as a result, also reducing the soot and ash from spreading to certain areas. But it's definitely challenging. We're looking at water being impacted now. I believe we even had some of our colleagues saying that water now is becoming an issue for whatever reason. I'm not sure as it relates to the water supply, how that is impacted in, for instance, the Belize City area, because I heard that was the case last night.
Well, you would imagine that with droughts, water evaporates, it's not replenished. There's water tables, there's water availability, fresh water. We get our drinking and our general use water from fresh water, and as droughts continue, that's one of the effects of drought, decreased water access, and so one would imagine that there's a need for rain all around. So that's something we'll continue to monitor, and I think at the first sight of rain, we'll have some sort of grand celebration across the country and perhaps declare it a national holiday. But Sabrina, moving on, we've been reminding our viewers about 2 auditions coming up this weekend. First, KTV, the Remix audition, which is scheduled to take place on June 1st and June 2nd.
Saturday and Sunday.
Saturday and Sunday at our studio on Coney Drive. And then on June 1st, which is Saturday, simultaneously we'll be having auditions for
Summerfest. And that's basically a talent show and a way for us to give back to our kids. You'd know that it's around the summertime, so this is our way of giving back to prepare these kids for school and the new year.
I saw some excellent performances from a coverage of Festival of Arts.
Yes.
I was blown away, and so my hope is that some of those kids, at least their parents, would see this and take the initiative to bring their children to audition on Saturday so that they can take that talent and garner additional exposure on a much bigger stage.
Absolutely. Well, we are excited to see you guys at the studios this weekend. Of course, just to remind you, it's Saturday and Sunday, June 1st and June 2nd for KTV The Remix Season 6 auditions, and only June 1st, Saturday, June 1st, for Summerfest 2024 auditions as well. So definitely come on out. We want to see the talent that each and every one of you have. And of course, we want to see if you're able to make it on that live stage for KTV The Remix. Yeah. Moving though into the rest of our show, we do have an eye-opener for you for your daily dose of morning motivation. Keeping an open mind is the most important step when learning to listen to divine guidance. Anyone who has asked for divine guidance knows that it can be challenging to trust when it comes. This is because divine guidance comes in many forms, and it's sometimes hard to locate it. We aren't sure if we are meant to trust our thoughts, our feelings, our dreams, or our intuitions to be the carriers of divine wisdom. We are not sure if advice from a friend is the form in which the guidance has come into the world, or if our own opinion is the source of wisdom we need to take seriously. The ability to sort all this out comes with trial and error, and the best way to learn to recognize divine guidance is to engage in the process of asking and receiving. Sometimes, when we ask for guidance, we already have a sense of what we want to hear. At such times, receiving guidance can be difficult because we don't want to hear anything that appears to be in opposition to our desire. It helps to acknowledge what we want and then to symbolically set it aside, making room for whatever wisdom comes through to us. In this way, we will gradually attune ourselves to our particular relationship with the divine. Begin to trust the guidance you are receiving, and soon you will find it flowing with ease.
It's a great eye-opener.
I like it too.
Love it.
Have you ever been in a position where you're looking for a sign, Paul, and you're like, God, just do this if it's a yes, or do this if it's a no? Have you ever been in a position like that? I think it's a human experience. We've all at some point in our lives hoped for some type of divine guidance. And it's so true what the eye-opener says, that it's difficult at times to recognize if that sign you're seeing somewhere is from the divine, or if it's possibly just you searching for the answer that you want to hear.
Right, because that's oftentimes the case. We already know what we want to hear, and anything outside of what we want to hear, we tend to push away and say that cannot be the divine guidance that I'm looking for.
And don't even get me started into accepting when that sign does come, that you may have to take the high road or the harder path and follow what's not very comfortable doing, because usually the thing that we want to do is more than likely easier for us. It brings about less pain or less challenge doing it. But when it comes to divine guidance, that oftentimes is the result that it might be hard to do, or it might be easier.
No.
It's interesting.
You said don't get you started, but you got yourself started.
I didn't go too deep into it. But moving now into our weather update, as we've been mentioning, we've been following the situation here in Belize as it relates to the weather. You would know that we are quickly inching into the hurricane season on June 1st. So we're just getting you that further update from the National Meteorological Service.
Morning, Belize. Fair, warm, and mostly dry weather conditions prevail. The 24-hour forecast: skies will be mostly sunny and warm today and partly cloudy tonight. Showers, if any, will be isolated, but more so over the south. The maximum temperatures for today will reach 90 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 100 inland hills. A heat alert is likely to go into effect later today. The low temperatures for tonight will be around 84 degrees Fahrenheit along the coast, 76 inland, and 68 up in the hills. The winds from the open sea will be from the east at 10 to 15 knots, and the sea conditions will be light to choppy. A low tide will occur this morning at 9:18, a high tide this evening at 3:14, another low tide tonight at 10:25, and another high tide early tomorrow morning at 4:45. The sun rose this morning at 5:17 and will set this evening at 6:23. The moon will set this morning just before midday at 11:55 and will rise just after midnight at 12:43. In the sargassum forecast, while latest satellite images suggest a slight decrease in sargassum near the shore of Belize, several mats were detected further offshore, and these are likely to affect the country during the coming days. In the fire risk forecast for today, the risk for forest or bushfires will remain high across the country. The outlook for Friday and Friday night is for similar weather conditions. For more details on our forecast, please visit our website at nms.gov.bz. With that, we end this morning's forecast from the Belize National Met Service.
All right, that was your weather update from the folks at the Met Service. And as a reminder, we are still experiencing the effects of a heat wave, so stay hydrated and, of course, stay indoors if you can. Moving though, Paul, to our show lineup, we have 3 great conversations to look forward to. Starting things off, we'll be joined by attorney Arthur Saldivar and some claimants who will be talking to us about the redistricting bill.
And in our second conversation, we'll be talking to the CEMO team, and they will be in to talk about their preparations for the upcoming hurricane season.
And of course, in our final segment, this is a little bit of an educational segment. We'll be talking about brain tumors, what causes them, and just some general information about things you should know about it. But we've got to take that first break, Paul, and when we come back, it's all about the redistricting bill. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
This plan, I can't leave this plan. Smart Belize.
Hey there, smart thinkers. We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speeds flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a Lone Ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced, full, high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered-up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
No, I can't leave this plan. I can't leave this plan.
Discover a shopping experience like no other at the V Department Store. They carry a vast array of products at unbeatable prices. Elevate your shopping journey with affordability, diversity, and accessibility at the V. Conveniently located at 1745 Coney Drive in Belize City.
2,251,000 slices of watermelon are eaten by tourists each year in Belize, benefiting local farmers and processors directly. Tourism means business.
I'm David Humes. This is Vanessa Humes. We own Ladyville Cool Spot. Belize Bank save us a lot of time. Working with them, we can keep track exactly what we spend. We recommend Belize Bank 100% because we don't have to go to stand up in line, and we can check on our account right from our house. Working with Belize Bank is the best.
What if I told you that your singing talent can earn you $10,000? And what if I told you that you can stop singing in the shower and sing live on one of the biggest stages in Belize?
Let's go! I'm gonna love you forever.
Still not sold? Well, what if I told you with all that's offered, you can attract fans and supporters from all over the country? So, are you ready to be part of the most exciting singing competition in Belize? It's time for KTV The Remix, Season 6. Auditions will take place on Saturday, June 1st and Sunday, June 2nd. So mark your calendars and come show us how good you are. This is your chance to make it big and win big. KTV The Remix, Season 6. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
With the steady increase in prices, it's hard to hold on to your hard-earned cash. Well, here at Benny's, prices are steadily falling, making it easier to stretch your dollars. Prices are slashed on roofing, plysim, nails, rebar, paints, lumber, and other products for your construction needs. And with fantastic discounts going on right now, get store-wide deals on select products from now through September 30th. Visit a Benny's store near you today, where the prices just keep on falling. Benny's, quality and savings.
Good morning and welcome back to our show. This is our first segment, and we are joined by Arthur Saldivar, who's the attorney for the Belize Peace Movement, a redistricting case, as well as Mr. Bobby Lopez, who's a claimant on the matter. Good morning to both of you, gentlemen.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
Thank you for joining us on set this morning. So where do we begin with this conversation? Because there's so much to talk about. But I'll give Mr. Saldivar the floor to set the stage for us. Let's start at the recent events. The matter was brought back to the court. What was your objective, or what did you seek to attain from the court in bringing the matter back?
Well, allow me to start by saying this first. Apart from the 1st of September 1981, today is a seminal day in Belize's political history, because for the first time since that day, we have a chance for democracy to actually come into being.
Why do you say that?
I say that because, and to answer your question, what we hoped to achieve by going to court last week was what we are going to be having this morning in the House of Representatives, where there'll be a tabling of a proposal, and that proposal coming from the Election and Boundaries Commission is to divide the nation in terms of its electoral divisions as nearly equal as possible. Now, mind you, the proposal that's being laid is a duck. It will not achieve it. It's a dud. They wasted the people's money and they've wasted the people's time. But at least we've got them to do what they were supposed to do in putting it forward. Now we are anticipating the parliamentarians completing the job of rubbishing it and sending it back to where it came from.
I've always wondered why is it such a difficult task, or why is it so hard to accept that redistricting should take place, or boundaries, constituency boundaries should be adjusted from time to time for the sake of having equality or some sort of equity in the power of an individual's vote? It seems to be common sense. But what's the challenge here?
The challenge is that we have many politicians but no leaders. And the politicians operate in their own interest and not in the interest of the people. Leaders, however, have a responsibility, and they accept that responsibility with maturity. George Price was a leader. Philip Golson was a leader. We don't have many leaders right now. And that is the problem.
I want to take the conversation over to Mr. Lopez and ask you your involvement in this process. What has it been like so far?
Good morning, everyone, and I must compliment you all on a very beautiful setting.
Yes, thank you. Yes, welcome to Hawaii.
You know, it's nostalgic. You go back in time.
Yes.
And then it actually realizes how much this country it's the value of it and why we are here exactly. Yeah. So as a claimant, I have to give a quick little history. I've run several times in elections. Mm-hmm. So in doing that, we recognize the deficiencies and how the odds are really stacked against certain areas. And for example, in Belmopan, I happen to live or have lived in the 3 largest constituencies because of my business. Belmopan, Belize Rural South, San Pedro, and Placencia, which is Tancric West. I'm still registered in Placencia because that's where I was living the last election. It's the largest constituency with close to 11,000 voters. So in 2012, when we observed and we read what the Organization of American States had to say in their report, their final report to the government, and that is presented to all the OAS, so all these people see it. Mm-hmm. It said that there is a serious problem here with the equality of votes, and it violates your constitution, and you need to fix this before the next general election.
That's in
2012. The government was advised to fix this before you have another general election.
We've had how many since
We've
then?
had 3.
3.
So 2012, 2015, 2020. We're going to have the 4th now, upcoming in the next, whenever the Prime Minister deems it fit. And so 2015 was a 3-year snap election, and nothing was done to fix this unconstitutional problem. And so in 2015, we made an attempt, we as in a group of us claimants, but it was so close to the election that we couldn't get it into we made an attempt to get it into the court and everything, it didn't fly. So we had it on our back burner to make sure we do this before the next election. And so in 2018, we started putting our case together. We approached, may I say, several attorneys. Many of them turned us down. Many never even answered us. And so on this note, I want to say thanks and big respect to Arthur, who willingly stepped up to that plate when we approached him.
Do you think they feared some sort of political
Yes. In fact, one particular attorney that responded said it was too politically, I'm not remembering the phrase they used, but yes, it is, you know, sad to say a lot of these politicians are aligned with one party or the other, and depending on where you are at the moment, they don't want to touch an issue like this. So in when Arthur agreed to, in 2018, we put the case together and we lodged it in 2019. So we were over a year before the next general election was called. We were in court, and may I say, on the very first day in court, us and the claimants and Arthur and Miss Michelle Trapp, his assistant, the government tried to dismiss it. In fact, the attorneys asked Judge Benjamin, this case is premature, the elections and boundaries will do their job, we think it's, you know, and Judge Benjamin gave them a verbal thrashing. And it was a stiff scolding, and he said, no, I'm going to listen to this case. This case has merit, and we're going to hear this case.
That was in 2018
that was 2019.
Under
that was
2019, under a UDP
under
administration.
the UDP administration. First hearing was Judge Benjamin. Fast forward, we're back and forth in court. We see the workings of an election looming. We went into COVID in 2020. We're still in court, and election is called. In our application was an injunction in the event that such a thing happened. So then our attorney applied the injunction. Wow. Both parties brought their high-level attorneys against ordinary citizens, just asking to have them do the right thing.
It's interesting.
And both of them had the same argument to the judge, which is now a different judge, Justice Arana, and convinced her that they had spent millions already in the campaign,
and so we
can't allow this little group to stop this process. And one of the attorneys even said, why did you wait so long to put your injunction? Well, the problem is you can't put an injunction until the election is called, and the election is called and it gives you 30 days to the election date. We had no choice. So now, okay, so fast forward then, we were overruled in that particular thing. Election took place, but the election took place under the promise by both parties, whoever wins, we will redistrict.
In a year.
Within a year. Well, within less than a year of the new administration, we get notice to strike out. The new administration has filed to strike our case out. Here we go back to court again to fight a strikeout case now under a different judge, Judge Chabot. Luckily, and I must say thankfully, she ruled in our favor. She said, you guys, this redistricting will take place. You all need to come up with a consent order together. And it was decided that by July the 17th, no later, on or before, the redistricting proposal will be tabled in the in the Parliament. And by the 30th of July of that same month, it should have been a bill to be debated. In other words, we're 10 months late. That was part of the consent order, that by the 30th, it should have been a bill. 10 months is passing, nothing is happening. We're in limbo. So at the end of this year, we sent out a press release and asked the commission to kindly resign, because what they had put forward, which we were entitled to receive, it was only the claimants with our attorneys and parliamentarians had a first look at that. And if it was possible to play what you all covered in the interview, that's the eye-opener of why we're here today. The Honorable Cordell Hyde, the Honorable Julius Espat, it's about a minute or so, they encapsulate their first reaction of discontent, serious concerns. It's got to have a do-over. It will not fly with international norms. It will not stand the scrutiny of the court. All of those things were said in a minute or two. And I really think your audience would do a lot if we could play that, because that is what sets the tone.
We're gathering that.
So I believe we have those clips ready, and we're going to play those.
We do have major concerns. You know, we had a major concern with I believe it's the deviation rate, I think. I don't know, I can't recall the exact term. It's the deviation rate that that proposal is looking at 25%, when globally, across the world, the acceptable rate, the accepted rate is somewhere closer to 15%. So that immediately sent off alarm bells. We also want to be in compliance with the Constitution that says that each constituency, each division is supposed to have as close a number as possible, equal number as possible in terms of electors. That's what we want. And what we saw on Tuesday did not pass that smell test, you know. So ultimately, this thing will be tabled in the National Assembly, but I would want to think that this thing will, Commission will end up having to have a do-over. But that's where we are. That's our initial reaction to it. We just didn't like what we saw.
My concern is equitable distribution. If we are going to do this exercise, you have to follow international norms that determines what your range is, and you can't play with it. Why am I saying this? Because it might hurt some of us, that we might not like it, but at the end of the day, it has to pass legal scrutiny. And so at the meeting, I asked one question to one of the attorneys: can this document pass legal scrutiny? And he said it won't last 10 minutes. And therefore, that was enough for me. And then I asked another question: what was the level of flexibility given in the numbers? International norms are telling us that we should be plus or minus 15% from the number, meaning the equal number per. This proposal was over 25%. And so I immediately did not have any problem voicing my discontent with it. we can't fool ourselves, man. We can't put on a document that will not pass scrutiny. And if we are doing that, then it's irresponsible. And so that basically is, and not only myself, many others, that is in essence why we put out a statement stating that we have when I say we have serious concerns. So they say it nicer than me.
But sir, does it then go back to the commission, or it has to be tabled as is?
No, it has to be tabled, and it has to be debated in the House, and Parliament will decide whether they accept it or not.
All right, well, thank you for playing that video footage there. Mr. Lopez, I want you to go back to what you were mentioning before this was aired and explain to us why this is an important piece of reaction for our viewers to understand.
These two gentlemen have earned the title honorable in my books. What they said is honorable because their immediate view of the proposal that they received was one that they realized would not meet the scrutiny of the court, is far from what the Constitution is asking, and anything that comes before the House has got to meet those two things. But there was a third thing he said, international norms. And I've been getting the question a lot from people who say, well, why international norms? Well, we've signed on to, as signatories and as members of the UN, the OAS and CARICOM, they all have democratic charters. And I'll read for the benefit of the thing, one of the things that the democratic charter says, very important. Number 6, every voter is entitled to exercise his or her right equally with others and to have his or her vote accorded equivalent weight to that of others. And so under that very principle is where our Constitution came up with every constituency shall be nearly as equal in number of voters as the other. We cannot have 1,876 voters in Fort George in 2020 and over 10,000 in Stann Creek West. For example, just in this budget, $6 million was allocated to all 31 constituencies. So every area rep divided by 31 gets $193,000 for the year. For the year. Divided by 1,876, the voter in Fort George is getting over $105 or so in resources, scholarships and education, whatever it is. Per year, 17, so that's a little over $1.50 per month.
Yeah.
Imagine, in Stann Creek West, that voter is getting $17. Yeah, so Belize is getting
Far less.
Yes, far less.
Far
$105 and $17. So they're getting about $15, $20 a month, and Stann Creek West is getting $1.50.
And this is why we should care about this as viewers.
We must care. We must care.
I want to get Mr. Saldivar in the conversation though, because you were painting an interesting analogy to me while that video was playing. And I want us to use that as an opportunity to break down the redistricting exercise even further as why it is important.
Right. There's always this emphasis on what people get through representation, but not so much as to what they lose or potentially lose. When we look at the situation involving representation, for example, in Belize City, we have 10 representatives for a small geographic area. Consider it a yard. In your yard, you plant your trees produce fruits, you want to protect it, you want to keep it safe. So you may put some dogs in your yard to help keep your yard safe while you're not there. Then consider Stann Creek District as a yard. Now Belize City is very small, it has 10, we'll say they have 10 dogs in that yard. Stann Creek, which is bigger than Belize City in size, the district, only has 2 dogs. And those 2 dogs, they are mutts, patlikas, right? The ones in Belize City might be like, we classify them like pit bulls, they are stronger, right? Now those mutts, because of that big yard, they can't patrol it, they can't really keep it safe, they cannot ensure that the resources that are produced in that yard is maintained for the people who live in the yard.
Right.
Now the ones in Belize City, they don't give a damn about the people, sorry to say, because in their yard, Their people are very deprived, very poor, but they are fat. So this is one of the problems. We have right now, and I've said this before on other places, but I'll say it here again. There are two main issues, and you guys were talking about carrots earlier before we came on, and the farming community in the rural parts of the country. Two major issues affecting us. The wildfires that are raging in the south, in the west, and even in the Belize district. And as a result of the drought, the rolling blackouts coming as a result of Chalio and Moyahon not having the water supply to have the hydroelectric dam give us the output that it should.
Right.
When we are talking about redistricting and increasing representation in the rural areas, we're talking about putting more people around the table to fight for the issues impacting those communities. One of those issues, because for example in Stan Creek district you have a lot of tourism operations, and these tourism operations have solar power now. They've all invested in solar energy, and they're producing more than they can actually consume. But there is no incentive program to sell the electricity they produce to the national grid, which is one of the ways through which we could actually alleviate our dependence on Mexico, who is now not wanting to sell us because they themselves have an increase in demand. More representation means more opportunities for the people in your district, more opportunities for them to make more for themselves. I don't advocate the whole community vote and using the 6 million and going to a representative because you want to get a handout. The people in the Stan Creek district are proud. They want to do for themselves, but they don't have enough voices around the table to demand the resources that they need to have for themselves, which they themselves produce.
Do you believe that the thought of losing a portion of your constituency or your constituency altogether and your position in the House of Representatives influences the position of politicians on this matter?
No, it is their myopic understanding. And as Bob Marley says, only a fool leans upon his own misunderstanding. Here it is. There is no need to lose any constituency in Belize City because the borders can be expanded. You start with those constituencies that are on the periphery of the city, for example, Port Loyola and Freetown. You can move Port Loyola and its boundary into Mile 8 to take in people in Mile 8, while you will move Collet Division into parts of Port Loyola, you will move Queen Square into parts of Collet, and so on and so forth to increase the numbers in those divisions. Then you'll move Freetown into Ladyville and take portions of Ladyville into Freetown, which will increase its numbers to make it as nearly equal as possible as the others across the country, because that is the goal. And you will move Pickstock into Lake Eye and into Freetown, and you move Caribbean Shores, and you move all these boundaries to include more people.
I can see that you've given this a lot of thought.
Of course. Nobody needs to lose any constituency. All that needs to happen is that in the city, the constituencies need to become larger. So you move the boundaries out. And in the rural areas, the constituency becomes smaller. So you create new divisions in the rural areas. Kaya district needs to have at least 7 representatives. Stan Creek district needs to at least have 4 representatives. Toledo needs to have at least 3 representatives. Okay? There is 1 more representative for the Belize district, which should come from Belize Rural South. Because you should be able to split Belize Rural South with South Ambergris and Kikaka being a division and North Ambergris being its own division, because they have enough numbers.
Yes, that's true.
So let's talk a bit about what the significance of today's event inside the House and how this moves this whole initiative forward, if any at all, heading into the 2025 elections.
Today's events is a confirmation of Parliament's understanding that the present Schedule 1 of the ROPA is unconstitutional. You don't go into this exercise if you have a constitutional schedule to run elections on. So you cannot approbate, which is to approve something, and reprobate, which is disapprove at the same time. So you either do it and you acknowledge that this is a problem, or you don't do it and say it's not a problem. But you're doing it.
You're doing it.
So you're telling the world, this is a problem. which they have done before the consent order.
But today we'll really find out what the stance is.
Yes, today we'll find out who knows what a democracy means.
I think the Prime Minister encapsulates it exactly what's going to happen today. In his reaction 10 months ago, he said, what is important, and I've mentioned it to the minister responsible for the Elections and Boundaries Commission, which is Minister Henry Charles Usher, that it is important that whatever comes to the House, which is happening today, that it can withstand the scrutiny of the court. So here the Prime Minister, in his wisdom, understands that the court is the guardian of the Constitution. We're a constitutional democracy. We're not a parliamentary democracy. Parliament is not supreme. The Constitution is supreme.
Right.
And so early next month, the judge, in her wisdom, commented at the end of last week, Wednesday, said, I will give this matter some urgency. And I will make a ruling early in the next month, in June, because I also come from a country, Trinidad, similar to the processes here in Belize, where the Prime Minister can call elections when he pleases. So a ruling is pending from the case we took back for the enforcement of the consent order.
Right.
But the Prime Minister understands, and all of those honorable men understands, that it must meet the constitutional requirements, the scrutiny of the court, and international norms.
Gentlemen, as we wrap up this segment, let's get your final thoughts.
Well, I want to say this. We have a chance to give democracy the opportunity to be applied in its truest sense in Belize. We expect a rejection of this proposal, but the rejection of this proposal means that a new proposal needs to be drafted. A proposal that will give every Belizean equal say in the governance of their country, equal say in the attraction of the resources that are needed for their own development, and equal say in how we move forward as a nation. It is fundamentally important. I certainly would want to wish everybody this morning who is going to the House of Representatives as representative of the people to understand that their role is to represent their people and not to represent the party in this vote. If it does come to a vote, because we know some bills, they give it 3 readings in one House meeting if they want to run it through. This is one of those bills that should be given that same treatment. Run it through this House meeting, let it be over with, because we already know it's not constitutional. Don't waste the people's time. Get us to that point where we can get a new proposal as quickly as possible.
All right.
Mr. Lopez?
Mr. Lopez?
Well, on that note, I would want to ask the Prime Minister for this particular bill to allow a conscience vote to be done. Failing that the Prime Minister does not allow a conscience vote where each representative can say yea or nay and it's counted, then we're calling on a brave parliamentarian. We don't know who that person could be that has the fortitude to stand up and call for a division, which is the same thing. One vote, and we'll see how the 31 of them vote. I know that there are honorable representatives there, and I've called a couple this morning. And as Minister Espat said, there's many of us. So it sounds to me like there's a whole lot that share his same position. And so if that is the case, then we should get what the people want. But on my final note, I call for participatory democracy, which is what Minister Usher has saying we need to move towards. Here's an opportunity for you to participate by going to the House today. If you can't go, then call your area rep, call his office, and let your voice be heard, because we put them there.
Yes.
And they should listen to us, the people, as to how they should be voting in the House. Do the right thing, voters.
All right.
Yes, as I said, we have a House of Representatives that's made up in the analogy of mainly Patlickers, but in Belize City we have all the big dogs. So right now we need to have these people who are Patlickers to come together in a pack, because that's how Patlickers operate, and bark as vociferously as possible.
All
Make
right.
a change.
Gentlemen, thank you so much for stopping by. We appreciate the information that you shared, the explanation that you provided, and of course, having us understand why this process is so important. Yes. All right.
Thank you.
We're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, the conversation switches into CEMO, and they'll be talking to us about how we are preparing for the hurricane season set to start on June 1st. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Technology is ubiquitous, and it's transforming how, when, and where we work. Full-Tech Systems is placing award-winning devices in the hands of information workers, allowing them to work without compromise in a world without wires, to innovate, create, and to maximize productivity anytime, anywhere, satisfying the needs of the desk-centric remote and field worker and every other worker in between. We are providing the industry's best devices to businesses going through the process of digital transformation. Partner with us today to provide the solutions that will allow your employees to work effectively and efficiently to enhance your customers' experience. Full-Tech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
La formación del Centro Neurológico del Hospital Galenia es que esas enfermedades que son altamente complejas y que muchos de nuestros pacientes tenían que emigrar hacia otra parte de la República u otra parte de México ahora puedan ser atendidos aquí.
La atención quirúrgica en el centro neurológico se forma dentro de un grupo multidisciplinario que incluye tanto neurólogos, médicos internistas, ortopedistas, neurocirujanos, pediatras. Y este esfuerzo que se ha realizado para conjuntar todos los especialistas es para siempre brindar al paciente un abordaje multidisciplinario y transversal. Evidentemente, mientras más rápido podamos llegar al diagnóstico de los pacientes, más rápido podemos tratarlos, resolverlos y por ende mejor resultado vamos a tener al final. Entonces creo que la prioridad y el fundamento principal de un proyecto como este es justamente eso, que no se pierda tiempo de forma innecesaria para poder al final del día llegar al mejor de los resultados con un tratamiento completo, integral y oportuno. Y las visiones desde diferentes perspectivas nos permiten tener pues el mejor tratamiento y la mejor opción para el paciente.
Tenemos la capacidad técnica, operativa, profesional y la infraestructura de poder establecer una atención neurológica de alta calidad.
Summer is almost here, and we're gearing up for the exciting time of the year where kids from all over the country come together and showcase their talent on one stage. The Open Your Eyes stage. Yes, that's right. Summerfest is back. Every talent is allowed to be part of this year's Summerfest. Join us on June 1st at Channel 5 to audition for this year's show. Call our WhatsApp 670-6068 and I'll see you on stage.
Unwrap the joy of crystal clear picture and sound from Iowa, the brand that offers you affordability and exceptional quality. Iowa has a wide range of exceptional products to choose from, such as TVs, speakers, headphones, home appliances, and much more at affordable prices that won't break the bank. Enhance your audio-visual entertainment experience with Iowa, and for your convenience, parts are readily available in country for hassle-free maintenance. You can find Iowa products at your local electronics store countrywide. Choose Iowa, the best in home entertainment and household appliances.
Welcome back to OIE. We're having our second conversation this morning, and as promised, it's all about CEMO's preparation for the 2024 hurricane season. I want to say welcome to our three guests that we have here with us. Melanie Dawson, she is the liaison officer for CEMO, as well as Ramon Menjivar. And he is the assistant city engineer with the Belize City Council. And no stranger here with us is Kaya Katus, and she is the counselor for the sanitation and maintenance area of the Belize City Council. Guys, thank you so much for joining us and welcome.
Welcome.
We got some reactions about the space, so welcome to OIE Escapes, we're calling it, yeah?
Good
morning. And good morning, Belize.
Sabrina, you could believe that June 1st is actually on Saturday.
Yeah.
We're only 2 days away from the start of the hurricane season.
Yes.
How has it been going in terms of preparing and planning for the hurricane season? 2 days away, but I would imagine you all have been preparing from way before.
Yes, well, for our part at the council, the CEMO unit, which I lead, we have been preparing from November finished. Last year, we start preparations in December, and those preparations began with, you guys have heard of our shelter inspection, which we did in January. Thereafter, we start meeting with our 15 subcommittees, because we have our subcommittees that basically execute their roles and responsibilities. Before, during, and after a storm, we update our plans. We meet with our stakeholders who are a core part of CEMO as well. We do capacity building trainings, such as emergency operations center training, shelter management trainings, basic first aid trainings. We have also did our EOC meetings, and this is like with the heads, the mayor, the city administrator, we discuss plans that we would want to have, in preparations in the event any disaster should come. We have meetings with NEMO, we work in coordination with NEMO as well. And just yesterday, actually, we did our official opening of the hurricane season by having our workshop under the team, creating a streamlined communication and a better working environment. And basically the objective was to get all the heads in the EOC to understand how to communicate, because remember, with proper communication, we have effective coordination and decision making, basically.
All of this is a part of disaster risk management, and one of the things you'll notice in Belize is that Belize City specifically, there's a lot of areas that presents hazards and a great deal of risks when it comes to flooding, when it comes to infrastructure, and their vulnerability to strong winds, for example. Is this a part of your preparation, studying the areas that are most vulnerable and have some of the greater hazards in the event a disaster impacts us?
Yes, definitely. For Belize City, we do have to do our assessments within the city, and to know what are the vulnerable areas, especially when it comes to flooding. So we do have in our plans, which area we should cater to in the event, there is any disaster or crisis.
Right. So let's bring Kaya into the conversation. Kaya, you're working sanitation and maintenance. That's your responsibility in the council. Let's talk a bit about how you and your team go about preparing for the start of the hurricane season.
So the sanitation and maintenance department at the Belize City Council deals primarily with garbage, the digging of drains, sweeping and chipping of the streets. But in preparation for the hurricane season, our main focus is on the digging of the drains, which we started from December of last year. So as soon as the hurricane season was over in November, we got started in December in preparation for the upcoming year. We have been digging drains across the city, and we have a very long list, right, Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Of drains that have been dug, outlets that have been cleared. We know that Belize City is below or just about at sea level, so whenever it rains, water settles, and the rain needs to stop before the water can subside. So to help alleviate that and have it run off quicker, we want to ensure that our drains are, well kept so that the water has somewhere to go.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of the work being done on the drain. I don't know if Councillor Thompson works alongside you as well, but right now he's known as the drain councillor across Belize City because of the effort he does in cleaning the drains.
Nonetheless, still much appreciated.
Of course, I mean, clean drains.
It's definitely a collaborative effort, and when we
Yes.
have councillors, working hands-on like that, it definitely makes a difference.
Yeah.
Yes. I want to get Mr. Menjivar in the conversation and speak to us about your role as city engineer, assistant city engineer, what your involvement looks like in preparing for the hurricane season.
Well, basically, my role as the assistant city engineer is to ensure that all the proper infrastructure maintenance is set in place. For instance, I'm going more back to what the councillor has explained, that the routine maintenance being done from last year, we got deeper than that. It is a process that we do routinely, but more to that, we do heavier infrastructure cleaning, which entails the dredging of the major outlets, which are the canals. Like I think it was about 3 years ago, we did the dredging of the Seaton Canal, the Southside Canal, the Holy Emmanuel Canal, which is now, the street has been named Barbara Harris, if you notice. And these are capital expenditure projects. So my role is to ensure that the whole system is properly maintained, and we have a continuous routine maintenance of the city drainage infrastructure.
Where do we stand currently with the pump station?
Presently, we're in good shape. It is 100% functional. If we understand the concept of it is to alleviate the flooding condition in the city, whereby whenever we have flooding, we activate the pumps and then the pump out the water into the sea so that the flooding is minimized.
So it's operational?
It's fully operational.
Do we anticipate that with these pump stations, should a hurricane or a major storm hit Belize causing flooding, that it would be a lot less significant than what took place with Hurricane Lisa?
Definitely. Definitely.
So I want to touch on a few topics that individuals preparing for the hurricane season would be concerned about. First of all, the disposal of certain types of debris. For example, people will start to cut their trees. There's certain appliances like a refrigerator or stove that one may need to get rid of just so that it doesn't become some sort of missile in the event there's strong winds, for example. So what's the advice for residents of Belize City right now as they think to clean up and clear up their area? This is one of those practices traditionally that takes place right before the start of the hurricane season. Any advice, any suggestions?
Well, basically, I would urge residents to do so. It is a mitigation, method when it comes to disaster management, and it causes less impact in the event we do have any hurricane or any disaster. I know at the council we do have certain days that these white garbage and other stuff, are picked up. I'm not sure if Councillor, would you want to stress on that, or?
So what we did last year was we embarked on a citywide campaign, and we had residents calling the council and saying, this is my address and we have XYZ, what day could we put it out, and we would advise them, and with that we would set a schedule and go across different areas of the city and pick up. We will do something similar to that this year. or we have been doing, I should say, residents have been calling and asking to pick up garbage from certain areas, white garbage that is, because residential garbage is a different thing, you know. On the north side, it's Mondays and Thursdays for residential garbage, and on the south side, it's Tuesdays and Wednesdays, I believe. Yeah.
What is white garbage?
White garbage is what he just explained. Tree branches, old appliances, that type of stuff.
Yeah.
So you have white garbage, residential garbage, and then you have, of course, corporate garbage, which is, I believe the Belize Waste Control charges a fee for the removal of corporate garbage. So if Channel 5 want to put out their garbage, have to pay to get it taken away.
Yeah, that's how garbage should put up on there for real.
All right. Well, I'm glad that we took a look at ways that we are preparing for the hurricane season. But what I'm interested to know is there any sort of challenges that we are still trying to overcome that may be faced if a hurricane or a major storm should hit Belize?
Yes. Well, since Hurricane Lisa, we did recognize the gaps, you know, since our response, you know. And since then, up until now, we're trying to fill those gaps, and one of them would be resources, having the right amount of resources, you know, to help our response to the residents within the city. But now, since having our meetings and we have a better standing with our stakeholders and other partners, you know, across the country, we have now established good grounds with them in the event we need more resources to facilitate, you know, any disaster or in the event we need to respond.
In this case, it would be human resources too.
Yes, definitely. And like I mentioned, we do have our 15 subcommittees, and one of them is the Relief and Supplies Subcommittee, and this committee is basically responsible for, you know, stocking the shelters and assisting anyone within the city or the country with supplies before and after a storm. So, like I said, with collaboration effort, we definitely are working towards our goal for, you know.
What are some of the bodies that CEMO collaborates with during times of natural disaster?
Okay, the main ones we have are the police department. We need them, you know, we need enforcement during disaster, especially at the shelters. We have the BDF, the Coast Guard. They're responsible for search and rescue. The Belize Red Cross, they help with humanitarian and relief supplies as well. UNICEF, they help a lot with capacity building efforts. We also have Ministry of Human Development. They are responsible again for relief and supplies effort. You know, NEMA, they are our standing grounds. We work partner, hands in hands with them, and basically I would say those are main. Ministry of Health as well. Yes, we need them.
When it comes to warning systems, let's talk a bit about what the warning systems look like for our residents to be prepared for.
Well, so far for Belize City, we do have our billboards stationed around in the city. Some of them did get damaged by Hurricane Lisa. However, we're trying to, you know, see how we could repair them. Yes, and those billboards have information such as, you know, the shelters, the flags, the assembly points in the event we need to evacuate. But one of the main resources, I would say, is our Facebook page. We disseminate so many information on our Facebook page, and we have been doing this for months now, you know, with preparedness tips, safety tips, you know, the hurricane flags, the hurricane names, and so forth. So residents can go on our Facebook page and get all of this information. It's accessible.
I think the reminder, though, to our viewers and persons who rely on information coming from social media platforms is to know which one to trust, because a lot of times during these cases, you tend to follow anything you hear, and all of a sudden we're preparing for a category 1, but we heard that there's a 5 coming instead, and it's just chaotic. So I appreciate you sharing with our viewers to get information from your page, but I want to remind our viewers to follow primarily these pages that are bringing accurate information and try not to go on YouTube and listen to Mr. John from Arkansas reporting on what's taking place in Belize, because really.
Mr. Menjivar, flooding is an issue, and we talked about it earlier. Are there areas that what are those areas that should be more concerned or be on high alert? And when it comes to perhaps their infrastructure, the strength of the infrastructure in that area, whether it's housing, whether it's the makeshift bridges, or even the streets, and streets becoming flooded?
Well, the most vulnerable areas are the low-lying areas, like the Genosha area, where we have poor housing in that community. Areas in the Gungulung area, which again is a low-lying area with these type of structures that are not safe to withstand sometimes even a tropical storm.
And also we have to add to that areas that are right in front of the sea, the southern foreshore, Kings Park area, all those areas that where the Marianne Jones is, Westland Beaver, Butwood Bay, all those areas that are right in front of the sea, because that's where the shoreline, that's where the water comes from.
And it's where you get these intense wakes and storm surges. Yeah. Kaya, did Lisa teach us anything about how to better prepare for cleanup efforts following a major disaster? I commend the efforts that were undertaken after Lisa, but what did we learn about how to better prepare for something like that?
I think after Lisa, the Belize City Council did an exceptional job in cleaning. We collaborated with all the organizations that we could, and we got all hands on deck immediately. We were told that the cleanup effort would take somewhere between 6 to 10 months, and we had it done in about 3. I mean, it was just getting on the ground and doing what needs to be done. After a hurricane, what you need to do is assess the damage that has been done, and you need to do it right away. And that will tell you what you need, who you need, and you need to get started right away. So preparing for the cleanup after a hurricane, I think we have the blueprint. And after what the city saw after Lisa, I think we're in a very good place moving forward into this hurricane season.
You're going to say something?
It was actually record-breaking with our cleanup, our vast cleanup that we had after Hurricane Lisa. I mean, we collected 63 tons, of garbage, and the efforts, the collaboration. I mean, once you have, like Councillor said, the efforts from other stakeholders, it can be done.
Yeah. Any advice for individuals that may at some point have to seek shelter?
Yes. Well, at this point right now, like I mentioned, we did our shelter inspections. We are now awaiting the official publishing of the shelter listing by CEMO, because remember, the HQ needs to publish the official listing. So whenever they do, hopefully it's by tomorrow or on Saturday, this information will be shared. If individuals or residents, if you know you live in a vulnerable area, be sure to look out for the listing, the hurricane, the shelter listing, to know which shelter is close to you. And in the event you need to seek shelter, make sure that you have, your bags packed. It could be a small bags, make sure that they have their hurricane essentials, like their chicken sausage, their soda biscuits and stuff like that. Like I always say, if you go to the grocery store every 2 weeks, pick up, 2 cans of something. It doesn't have to be a vast amount of groceries, Every time you go to buy groceries, pick up a small, item. And that would eventually add up until, we reach a hurricane season.
Absolutely. As we wind down, I'll give you guys the opportunity to share your final thoughts.
Well, I don't mind going first. For me, you guys raised a very, very great statement to listen to the most official information when it comes to, information about hurricanes or any storm in particular, listen to the Met Service and NEMO.
Definitely want to reach out to residents and ask them to do their part, you know, to ensure that they are safe. As it relates to the limbing of the trees, you know, things that may be used as missile when the winds pick up in a hurricane in your yard, you know, things that water will settle in and create hazards, mosquitoes, that type of thing for the aftermath. And also as residents to, like Ms. Mel said, look out for the listing, find the shelter that is closest to you. In the event you know you may need to go to a shelter, you know, be kind to the people. You're not at home, you're not in your own space, you know, you're sharing a space with people, so be mindful of that.
Yes. So, any final thoughts?
I want to urge our residents to be very thoughtful and mindful of how they dispose their garbage. Often you see garbage in the drains.
Yeah.
You have refuges in the canals, mattresses, and these are some minor things that could be alleviated by just a phone call. You know, give us a call and we can pick those up rather than dumping those items in the canal, which in the long term, if we have any event, then those become a dam to the water flow and outlets, which will eventually affect the same residents.
Yeah. Yes. Well, guys, thank you so much for you had.
Yeah, I was going to say, sorry, just to add on to that, an area that we clean at the Belize City Council on a weekly basis is the North Creek Canal. Am I correct, Mr. Manhever? Right. We are there twice a month to clean that North Creek Canal, and it is just accumulated garbage from what residents in the area throw into the canal. Right? Dispose of your garbage properly. We have on the south side garbage disposal or garbage pickup from the Belize Waste Control every Tuesday and Wednesday. Put it outside. The garbage truck will cart it away for free. Right? When we throw it into the canals, like Mr. Menhevar said, it creates a dam and it does not assist with the smooth flow of water, especially in cases of natural disasters.
Well, guys, thank you so much for stopping by and sharing with us the update on your side, what's taking place, and of course, how you guys are preparing for the hurricane season and what we should be doing as well. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Drew.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to take another quick break, and when we come back, the conversation switches into what causes a brain tumor. Find out when we come back.
My name is Leomar Langzert, and I'm a teacher, and I bank with Belize Bank Independence Branch. What I enjoy is the safety features that the app offers. I have a sense of not having to worry or be concerned about somebody finding my password and username to sign in the application because of the use of the one-time password. And another feature that I love, that I use the most, is how the app synchronizes with my fingerprint on my device. I enjoy the rapid and easy, seamless process to apply for loans through the Belize Bank, and I don't have to be having too much back and forth to visit or take time to visit the bank. They also start to offer the online applications through the app for loan applications, which I believe is very neat. I would definitely recommend Belize Bank to other teachers because one of all the features and advantages that the app offer, with these online that Belize Bank offered, is basically everything that you can do in the palm of your hand. So I would definitely recommend the bank to other teachers.
What if I told you that your singing talent can earn you $10,000? And what if I told you that you can stop singing in the shower and sing live on one of the biggest stages in Belize?
Let's go! I'm gonna love you forever.
Still not sold? Well, what if I told you with all that's offered, you can attract fans and supporters from all over the country? So, are you ready to be part of the most exciting singing competition in Belize? It's time for KTV The Remix, Season 6. Auditions will take place on Saturday, June 1st and Sunday, June 2nd. So mark your calendars and come show us how good you are. This is your chance to make it big and win big. KTV The Remix, Season 6. It's hot, it's live, and it's only on 5.
The Ministry of Blue Economy and Disaster Risk Management, in partnership with the National Adaptation Plan Global Network Secretariat, will be hosting the second Blue Economy Climate Resilience Forum and Fair on June 6th and 7th. This year's theme is linking science and livelihoods towards climate resilience for the coastal zone and fisheries sector of Belize. Come and take part in presentations relating to climate change and national adaptation and mitigation initiatives, the use of scientific knowledge to enhance resilience, and how men and women in our community can positively impact our coastal zone and fisheries sector. On day 1, June 6th, the Blue Economy Forum will provide a platform for NGOs, academia, and private citizens to present your plans, projects, and national initiatives at the Belize Biltmore Plaza from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. On day 2, June 7th, the Blue Economy Fair takes place at the Fisheries Compound on Princess Margaret Drive, where stakeholders such as NGOs, fisherfolk organizations, and MSMEs will showcase their booths. There will also be lots of raffle giveaways. Everyone is invited to the second Blue Economy Climate Resilience Forum and Fair on June 6th and 7th.
I'm connected. Yo.
I'm connected.
We're connected.
Create the perfect broadband bundle that fits your style with Smart Connect. With the Junior Bundle, get 50% off your national calls and up to 6 gigabytes of data at no extra cost. Get postpaid added on for an additional cost of only $25 with the Prime Bundle. Stay connected with unlimited smart-to-smart calls, plus 6,300 megabytes of data and free international minutes. For the family, get the Binge Watchers bundle with Netflix add-on for only $28.13 more. This bundle gives you 4 profiles with unlimited streaming on multiple devices. Visit a showroom near you to sign up and personalize your own bundle combination with Smart Connect. Smart, bringing people together.
Welcome back. We're having our third and final conversation this morning, and as we mentioned, it's all about brain tumors. What do you know about brain tumors? Well, if you don't know, we're going to be sharing some information with you, and we have an oncologist here with us to talk to us about that. His name is Dr. Ramon Yacob, and he has up to 12 years experience in medicine, and of course, of those 12, 6 as an oncologist. Good morning, doctor, and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
No problem. So, for our viewers who may not be wholly familiar with what an oncologist does, like myself, can you give us a bit an idea of the work of an oncologist? And it's not somebody's uncle that makes you an oncologist, right?
No, it's a very good question. Oncologist is a specialty in itself that deals with cancer. That's what we deal with. My part, I am specifically a medical oncologist. So my role is to help patients establish a diagnosis of a cancer, guide them, assess them. Once the cancer has been diagnosed, we talk about treatment options. We give them, again, assessments there. We talk about chemotherapy. We offer chemotherapy. We offer hormone therapy, immune therapy for the treatment part. We offer palliative care and end-of-life care for patients who have incurable cancers. And we also offer follow-up for patients. Now, there are other types of oncologists. For example, a surgical oncologist who will only deal with the surgery aspect of cancers, and radiation oncologists.
What made you decide to specialize in oncology in the first place?
I do consider that It's a vocation for me. I mean, ever since I was at med school, I felt that I had that inclination, that calling to be with cancer patients. I mean, seeing the suffering that they were going through inclined me to this. I came back to Belize and I started doing volunteer work, the Belize Hospice and Palliative Care Foundation a few years ago, visiting patients at end of life. And I did see that there was such a need for Belize. I followed studying in Mexico, came back, and this is what we're doing. So I see cancer patients on a daily basis. Mostly they are KHMH. I also do private and Belize Healthcare Partners, but I also do volunteer work. I am the Vice President for the Belize Hospice and Palliative Care Foundation, advocating on behalf of patients with advanced disease.
How has medicine advanced over the years to where a cancer patient no longer has to feel as if this is the end of life as we know it?
Yes, and that's a very good question. And I'll try to put it in when it comes to cancer, unfortunately, it will depend on the systems that we have in place. Up to 50%, 60% of cancer cases can be detected early. I mean, and the most frequent types of cancers: breast cancer, cervical cancer, colon cancer. If we're able to detect the cancer early or prevent it, as in cervical cancer, we shouldn't have a conversation on end of life. However, around 40% of all cancer cases are coming in with a stage 4 cancer.
Yeah.
And for all instances, a stage 4 cancer is not curable. And while we may not want to talk about end of life, the conversation will need to be discussed at some point because the patient will pass away from the cancer.
What is a conversation like when it comes to end of life? One would imagine that's difficult. How difficult is it to have that conversation?
It is difficult. I mean, especially having that first discussion with the patient, knowing that it's an advanced cancer. The first thing is we always have to build that rapport with the family, with the patient. And we go step by step. We don't just tell them it's this and that. No. We have a deep conversation with them, exploring what their thoughts, what their beliefs are, and how much information they want us to divulge to the patient at that initial point. Yeah. And we build a very good relationship with the patient. And I have to mention that when we have these conversations, the patient is the captain of the conversation. I'm there to support the patient on what he or she wants to know, and I'm there to support their decision.
Since we're on this topic, provide us with some information, a brief insight on the stages and the severity of each stage, if you would.
Yes. So most of the cancers use a standard classification that goes from stage 1 to a stage 4. Most of the cancers. We have other types that we use a different classification. But for most part, a stage 1 cancer is a very early detected cancer that, depending on the site, surgery might be the only consideration. Stage 2 and stage 3, the size of the tumor has grown to potentially affect areas around it. And the treatment may involve surgery, chemotherapy, and or radiation, depending on the type of cancer.
To remove it?
Yes, to try to remove it. And a stage 4 cancer, while treatment options are available, the treatment options are palliative. A surgery is done to help with symptoms, not the cure. Radiation is offered to help with symptoms, not the cure. And chemotherapy is offered to prolong life, help reduce symptoms, but it's not a cure. So
at that point, it's essentially just to keep the patient as comfortable as possible.
Yes. So when we have that stage 4 cancer, and we're offering all of these modalities, these fall under the umbrella of palliative care,
yes,
in which our mission is to keep the patient comfortable. At some point, the patient may become too weak to even continue any type of oncologic treatment, and we continue with only end-of-life care.
You mentioned another form of treatment that I'm actually familiar with, and that is immunotherapy. And I want to talk a little bit about treatment because I know that Belize still has quite a way to go when it comes to access to treatments for persons with cancer. You would know, doctor, that a lot of them would have to travel outside of the country to our neighboring countries to seek treatment for cancer. But let's touch on the different types of treatments and include in there what immunotherapy is.
So immunotherapy is a type of treatment that kind of restarts your immune system. It recognizes that there's a cancer, and it provides your body to build antibodies or that defense system to attack the cancer. However, immunotherapy has its own indications. We don't use it in every type of cancers, and when we're using it, it's also in most instances, for example, in breast, colon cancer, lung cancer, it's in the metastatic setting, meaning it's in patients who do not necessarily will receive a cure, it's to prolong. So when we hear about immunotherapy, and even when we hear about chemotherapy, it all depends on the stage. If I use immunotherapy in a patient with a stage 3 cancer, the cancer can be cured, but it's given as protection for the patient. If I give immunotherapy to a patient in a stage 4 cancer, it is not meant to cure. It will help prolong, and it's one of the options that we can offer patients.
To keep them comfortable as possible.
To help, yes, reduce the symptoms of cancer. So it all depends, again, on the stage. We use immunotherapy or the same drug, if you may, with different objectives. It might be to protect, it might be to just continue as much as we can.
And then, of course, there's radiation as well that people do here. No, they do chemotherapy here in Belize, but they would have to go outside of the country for radiation.
Yes, so what we have available is, in terms of chemotherapy, we do have it available. Hormone therapy, we have it available, and immunotherapy, it is available.
Really?
It all depends on out-of-pocket finances, because immunotherapy, anywhere you go, is very expensive. It is. So if the average Belizean could afford it, I mean, that would be a different topic though. But it is very difficult to have it there for everyone.
Yeah. Yes. Now, let's zone in a bit to brain tumor. Yeah. Is that synonymous with brain cancer?
Yes. Now, brain cancers are a type of cancers that is generally rare in the adult population. Different in the pediatric population, brain cancers or brain tumors in general are among the most common ones in children. However, by numbers, cancers in children, for Belize, for example, we'd be expecting around 12 to 20 cases per year for cancers in general. Now, in adults, we're expecting around 400 cases every year of cancers.
In Belize?
In Belize.
That's a lot if you look at our population.
It is, and if we were to add that every year we're having patients receiving treatment, patients prolonging life, patients having potentially curable cancers, and we have to follow up these patients. By the end of the 5 years, we're having over 2,000 patients merely there if everyone has a good prognosis. So the number of cases have been increasing. Brain tumors account for 1% of brain cancer, so it's not that frequent. It's not that frequent, but it does happen, and it is happening.
Okay. How does one identify symptoms of a possible brain tumor?
Yeah. That's a very difficult question to answer because brain tumors are not like the other types of cancers, like the breast cancer or the cervical cancer that's giving you warning signs, or which we could even screen. Most of the times, symptoms of brain cancer may include visual disturbances, seizures, headaches that are changing with time, and it can manifest sometimes like a stroke. You could have a patient that may have weakness of an arm. Next week, he's having progressive weakness of the leg. So we have to suspect that something is happening. And why is this? The brain it's like a computer, if you may. If we touch any place in the brain, it will have an impact in the body. Wherever the tumor appears, that's the manifestation that we're going to be having. So those are some of the most common symptoms that we're going to have. And as clinicians, we always have to be thinking, yes, it might not be frequent. We still have to think out of the box. There might always be a cancer there.
With what you just explained, is it observed that brain tumors or brain cancers are identified more at a later stage because of these symptoms?
Yes, most of the times when it's identified, it's when we have full-grown symptoms. And the other thing that makes it difficult is that the location within the brain. While we do have the neurosurgeons here that do a remarkable job with the patients, sometimes the tumor in itself, they cannot access it because it's very deep in the tissue. So we aim to take a biopsy, and depending on what we may or may not have available, sometimes patients' biopsies can be done here, or the tumor can be resected here, but if not, the patient has to be referred abroad for additional management.
Is there something that causes these types of tumors, or is this something that can be inherited from your genetics?
Yeah. Now, when we talk about brain tumors, and I think I'm going to do a big classification here. Brain tumors, we generally talk about those that develop in the brain or in the spine, if you may, in the nerves that derive from the spine. And it can either come directly, be born there, as in the case of tumors that we know as gliomas or glioblastomas, or it can come from a different site. For example, if a patient has a breast cancer, it can metastasize to the brain. If the patient has a kidney cancer, it may go to the brain. So that also is a manifestation. Most of the times when we have tumors in the brain, it's metastases from another cancer.
Okay. So there are very low chances that you might just have brain tumor.
Yes.
Okay.
That will come in second place, you'd say, after ruling metastases from another site.
Okay.
And what we do when we suspect, we ask for an MRI. MRIs are the gold standard that give us the characteristics to make us suspect even more that there is a tumor that was born there.
So in a case, in an event like that, is there one treatment available for both areas identified?
Yes. Now, for example, if we were to talk that it is metastases, unfortunately, wherever you go, treatment will always include chemo to cover from the brain down, to help cover all of that. But the brain is very special in that it is considered a sanctuary. It's protected, and as much treatment as I may want to give as chemo, it will not infiltrate the brain. So any disease in the brain has to be accompanied by radiation.
Radiation?
Yes.
Okay, so what does radiation do? Radiation penetrates into areas that other medicines wouldn't?
Yes. What they do, and there are different modalities, but one of them, the most common one is whole brain radiation, where the patient will receive X-rays or rays going directly to all the brain, but it triggers mostly the site where the tumor is, and it kind of, like in layman terms, burns the tumor. So it helps control.
Yes. Doctor, I have a question on radiation, because I'm not sure if viewers would recall, or yourself, Paul, but when we talk about radiation outside of the medical term, it's seen as something that causes cancer. For instance, they would say, don't stand in front of your microwave, the radiation can give you cancer. But then we're talking about radiation as a cure for cancer, or to fight cancer. What is the correlation there?
Yeah, it's different, the type of radiation, and I must mention that yes, there is a correlation, but it depends on the type. When we talk about radiation that causes cancer or is related to cancer as a risk factor, it's ionizing radiation, and that can be gotten, for example, exposures, like during World War II with Fukushima, with the atomic bombs. That type of radiation, that's one. Two, at the workplace, doctors, radiographers, technicians, they're exposed to radiation through the CAT scans, through the x-rays. They always have their little label there saying how much radiation they're being exposed to, because those are risk factors. When it comes to other types of radiation, even the cell phone has been questioned about, does it cause or not cancer? It does expose radiation, but there has been no conclusive evidence that it leads to a cancer. So even international organizations place the cell phone radio frequency as a possible carcinogen. We can't really say it does, but we can't really rule it out.
That's quite a thing there. With how serious and the rarity of brain tumors, do we have patients surviving this?
Yes, and it all depends when it's specifically only the brain tumor that it derives from the from there. There are patients who survive, but it all depends where in the brain and how large the tumor is, because it needs to be resected in totality. Now, that's one part, the complications and that derive from removing part of the brain, how will that affect in the everyday life? That's another thing that we have to consider.
Doctor, this has been quite an informative segment. I think we could go on and on, but I want to give you an opportunity to share with our viewers how to contact you if they feel that they would like to reach out to you, whether they have a family member that's diagnosed with a form of cancer, or if it's through palliative care. How can they reach out to you?
So, well, we could, I mean, I'm generally there at, if you need to contact me, I'm at Carl Huger Memorial Hospital. What you have to do is contact the hospital to make an appointment, and generally at the private part, it's going to be through making your appointment at Belize Healthcare Partners, and through Belize Hospital and Palliative Care. We are a group of non-profit organizations, so you could always reach us through social media for patients who are in the life care. Yeah.
Thank you so much for stopping by, sharing with us this information, and we hope that our viewers were able to get something from it that can be beneficial to them. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, we're going to take our final break, and when we come back, we wrap things up.
This plan, I can't leave this plan. Smart Belize.
Hey there, smart thinkers. We're turbocharging your mobile experience with Smart's powered up postpaid plans. Imagine a world where your data speeds flows faster than ever. Well, guess what? We've cranked up the dial and unleashed the postpaid power of Smart's lightning fast LTE data on all our postpaid plans. That's right, no speed bumps, more data. It's like having a limitless highway of data speed at your fingertips. Whether you're a Lone Ranger with an individual plan or a squad rolling with a group plan, everyone gets to surf, stream, and share at enhanced, full, high-quality speed. Switch to Smart's powered-up postpaid plans today and ride the wave of postpaid power. Visit any Smart showroom or smart-bz.com for details and make your mobile experience smarter and faster. Smart, bringing people together.
I know I can't let this plan. I can't let this plan.
Summer is almost here, and we're gearing up for the exciting time of the year where kids from all over the country come together and showcase their talent on one stage. The Open Your Eyes stage. Yes, that's right. Summerfest is back. Every talent is allowed to be part of this year's Summerfest. Join us on June 1st at Channel 5 to audition for this year's show. Call or WhatsApp 670-6068 and I'll see you on stage.
Upcoming enhancements to My Social Security. The new healthcare provider features seamlessly connects healthcare providers, insured persons, and employers to facilitate the payment of sickness benefits. Here are the enhancements. Registered healthcare providers will create and submit online medical certificates using their healthcare provider accounts. Insured persons will receive a link to view the medical certificate to complete and submit their sickness benefit claim. And employers will receive an email notification of their employee's sickness claim. Also, the insured person and their employer will receive a copy of the claim decision letter after review. Healthcare providers, insured persons, and employers are encouraged to create a portal account to access and benefit from these new services on My Social Security at ssbportal.org.bz. My Social Security online portal. Social Security at your fingertips.
Hi, my name is Lincoln Fowers and I work at UMall. 100% I will recommend Belize Bank mobile banking to everyone because it saves time, money, and gas price because gas price is high right now. Belize Bank mobile banking just make life easier.
Welcome back, guys, and thanks for sticking with us. We had 3 great conversations this morning, Paul. And of course, we want to say thank you to all of our guests who stopped by. I enjoyed every one of these conversations, Paul. I'm not sure if you had a favorite.
No, my favorite was definitely the one where we talked and asked questions and got answers.
All right, well,
Yeah.
same here.
Yeah, great.
But we want to say thank you to you guys as well for tuning in with us. It is Thursday, May 29th? May 29th.
No, it's actually 30th.
It is?
Your watch is wrong.
But if you're celebrating a birthday today, happy birthday to you. And if you'd like to give a birthday shout out, or if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can send us an email at oye@channel5police.com. You can also catch us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ, as well as Instagram for behind-the-scenes comments at OYE Belize. Thank you so much for joining us, and please do us a favor and join us again tomorrow for Fun Friday as you open your eyes.
And start your morning right.
Until then, keep your eyes, your minds,
And your hearts open.
have a wonderful Thursday.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by SMART, bringing people together, and the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.